Time is 7 p.m. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Mayor and Town Council for June 25th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Susan.
Councilor Woodrigo.
Here.
Councilor Gonzalez.
Here.
Councilor Mankey.
Here.
Councilor Nagel.
Here.
Councilor Page.
Here.
Councilor Ford.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Rada.
Here.
Minneapolis.
Here.
Mayor Justin.
Here. We move on to approval of the agenda. Are there any changes that anyone needs to make to the agenda? Seeing none, we will move on to proclamations. Mr. Richard Wall was unable to make it tonight, so I would actually entertain a motion to table this for a future meeting.
Second.
All right, motion and second to table the proclamation for the retirement of Richard Wall. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is tabled unanimously till the next meeting. Moving on to public participation in general. If you'd like to participate in public participation, you're in the room, please feel free to come up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. If you're in the Zoom function, please use the raise hand function in Zoom.
Good evening, members of the Town Council, Mr. Mayor, Mark France, 288 Williamstown Court. And LGBTQI and mental health interpolation is what I want to talk about. And also dual diagnosis, mental health and drug addiction, gambling addiction, alcoholism, all of the isms that come with wanting to numb out and not feel real human emotions. This is a serious problem. This is a crisis, and how it gets addressed in Newington is what I'd like to bring to the attention of the council. Is what are pragmatic ways that we could take this toxic, nebulous, and cancer, quite frankly, that affects anybody, whether you're born with a predisposition or propensity to inflict harm on yourself, and so on and so forth. I am sick and tired, personally, of my own transgressions, which it's on the record now. Okay, at least I have a level of self-respect where through lived experiences, okay, this town has raised me. And I want to continue to give back to the town at my 47 years of age, given my history, both good and better. And I'll rephrase that. I like the experience for everybody to learn from Mark France and his experiences so that the future in Newington, starting with our youngest, and through the very everyone in this life cycle span can experience comfortability in their own skin. So I realize this is abstract and random. That's just my style. That's how I rock and roll. But the people that are scientists here, the people that are concrete and linear, help me out. Help me to make Newington a safer place so that the Mark Francis of the world and whomever, that's just someone in general. I'm just using me in the specific, but you in the particular don't have to hurt yourself or feel that you have to fight or fly. Just be and let be. So having stated that, I'd like to set the tone hitherto moving forward from here on out. Let's get started, at least for me. And I hope the council is addressing this issue. And if it's not addressing this rather large topic, that we do take it just for our own well-being for my own well-being and sanity, and for the well-being and sanity of others. I believe mental health, all sorts of addictions, this is the whole nine, all the alphabet soup, so that we can be comfortable, productive citizens in this town that has taught me that growth and progress starts with getting up and starting over again. So with having said that, at this hour, I'm starting anew again. But not everyone gets that concept, and I hope everyone does at some point, sooner rather than later. Thank you.
You did.
We do have one on Zoom with their hand raised. Go to that person. Mr. Horgan, go right ahead.
David Horrigan, 30 Candlewick Drive. Before I get to my main point, I'd like to take a minute to address the lack of decorum at the last council meeting when a resident and a member of the town council engaged in personal attacks. Personally, when I get passionate or emotional on a subject, I get nervous and it makes it difficult for me to make my point. Some others, though, when passionate, they may say things that they probably regret later. I hope that in the future, everyone on both sides of that table keeps their cool and treats each other with respect. My main topic, of course, is the purchase of 28 Garfield Street. I'm going to start by quoting the last page of the last sentence of the legal opinion that you received from Shipman Goodwin on June 6th. So quoting, it says, "It should also be noted that this legal opinion would be different if the town attempted to make multiple special appropriations towards the same project over a period of years, and the total of these appropriations exceeded the 1.5% cap." So the reason that's important to me is unless information has been made available to the town council that the public has not been privy to, I do not believe that you have all the financial numbers that you need to properly evaluate the final cost of purchasing 28 Garfield Street and then retrofitting for the EOC and a yet to be named town department. If you pass the special appropriation tonight to purchase 28 Garfield Street, you will likely need to make another appropriation somewhere in the future to complete the project. That could be against the advice of legal counsel, and if not against the technical language in our charter, certainly against the spirit of the rules. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, Dana Havens, 113 Stoddard Avenue. Speaking of the charter, if you look at the charter, specifically Article 4, subsection C, 408, there's a line in there that you need to pay particular attention to. It says that the notice of the, and here's the important part, passage of the ordinance shall be published in a newspaper, and that the ordinance shall become effective 15 days later. So that means the notice won't be in the paper until July. So as I read it, even if you pass this today, the funds can't be drawn until after the new fiscal year, negating your stated reason for the need to hurry and pass the special appropriation. Because now you're not going to be able to draw another appropriation until the following fiscal year. So I'm asking you once again to take a pause. I think this pause is needed since it's evident you don't have even a best guess estimate onto the final cost of the project given you by an architect. And because I believe after following our past construction renovation projects, that this project, even if you could get two special appropriations thrown at it, we'll still have to go to a referendum once you do get those figures. And because of that, I'm gonna let you know that if for some ridiculous reason you pass this tonight, I will be filing a petition for referendum, which is going to stall you yet another, at minimum, 30 days. So how about you just stop this show of bravado and trying to prove I don't know what, and you proceed with this project honestly thoughtfully and with facts and some sort of idea as to its cost. Please just handle it the way it should be done instead of trying to get it your way, no matter what the town rules, regulations, or ordinances say. I'd also like to add that although I'm not raising my voice in anger, I too am passionate about this town. And I care that our monies are spent wisely and not in haste and in full knowledge.
Thank you.
Good evening, Edward Noifo, 20 Surrey Drive, Newington. I'm just speaking in favor of the new emergency operating center on Garfield Street. Has anyone ever heard the phrase location, location, location? Well, it's in the center of town, it's close to the police department, close to company number 1, and it has the best location. The other thing was, some people were talking about having it on Milk Lane, where they have a training center, but that's not a good location. It was also brought up the idea that we already have the EOC motorhome. Now, this question goes to the Republican people on the panel, please. Have you ever been in a tornado or a hurricane with high winds such as that nature that will basically tip over that motorhome? It's on wheels. It's not like an anchored down motorhome you have like in a trailer park. It's on wheels, it will tip over and will be really in danger. And someone brought up that was a good idea, but how do you think it's gonna be in a hurricane or a storm? And I'm tired of the previous administration kicking the can out of certain projects in the town. I'm so happy that we have an administration that's moving forward and finally getting things done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Neil Ryan, 237 Brockett Street, still Heart and Soul, Newington. I want to briefly discuss a couple of items on the agenda. First is Section 7E, the Mill Pond Park Pool Building Committee. I want to commend this town council for disbanding the previous existing building committee. My understanding is that that committee's sole priority was to do nothing, which they succeeded in spectacularly. I think the new committee looks to have an excellent makeup and was going forward with an excellent job with respect to the project. Second, I want to talk about is Section 7C. Again, this 28 Garfield Street for the Emergency Operations Center. Firstly, I want to commend the town council for pursuing this. Since my understanding that the existing EOC is inadequate, I think the town is being very proactive and this represents forward thinking. My understanding is that as of now, the funding is in place. There's a $1 million FEMA grant and money appropriated by the town council during fiscal year 23 and 24. Another important part of this purchase is that it will provide additional parking for the town. This is important for the library and the potential new pool that has been discussed for Mill Pond Park, where parking has become something of an issue. The third one I want to talk about actually would kind of relate to what I just talked about. I want to talk briefly about the issue of referendums. Newington. Right now, I think the threshold for in Newington is $2 million or above requires a referendum vote. That's kind of a low figure. For example, Meriden, I believe, is a $10 million threshold for referendum. Any project of $10 million, it moves. Now, to me, that's a town that's still going to get things done. And I think Newington, this town council really should consider appointing a charter revision commission to address the issue of referendums. So it is a charter issue. And just looking at tonight's agenda related to the EOC, in the notes it discusses the question of a referendum, whether or not it's necessary, and the $2 million threshold. If a charter if the charter is revised with respect to the referendum and you raise that, the figure, things like that wouldn't be an issue. And that's basically it. I'm finished. I'm gonna bump tonight, Steve, Guardians.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Evening, Bill McCarthy, 206 Churchill Drive. I want to start off by thanking the council and Jamie especially for you guys doing such a great job helping to keep the town in line. I just want to start by saying that I am very active in the Facebook communications with what's going on in the town. And I appreciate all the feedback that I get from like my fellow Facebook followers. Just talking about 28 Garfield. I agree that the project to create an EOC is flawed. FEMA encouraged towns to create EOCs by incentivizing the process with grants. Our town manager at the time felt that this was a valuable grant and started the process. After a couple of years in councils with lots of executive sessions, the proposal was presented to the public. The town presented the proposal to purchase 28 Garfield Street and utilize the FEMA grant and additional CIP funding to create an EOC. Lauren Rhines, Director of Administrative Services, did an excellent job presenting the proposal to the public at a couple of town council meetings and public hearings. The purchase of 28 Garfield Street and the creation of an EOC became intertwined. I feel a large project like that should be voted on by the community in a referendum and would fail. However, the ordinance that is being voted on does not mention the EOC and allows the council to vote on the proposal to purchase 28 Garfield separately. I support the purchase of 28 Garfield. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rose Lyons, 46 Alton Drive. I'm not going to beat the purchase of OFI to death. What I'm going to address tonight is what are we doing now to let our residents know when there's an impending disaster such as the tornado on Saturday. I myself was out shopping. I have a flip phone. I have a laptop. I go about my business. I'm 78 years old. I want to know why, or if we do have an emergency operations Facebook page such as Weathersfield does, and looking at some of the other towns around, there's notifications when there's emergency evacuations, missing persons, which I do see missing persons and missing dogs and cats on Facebook once in a while. Natural disaster alerts, hazardous material leaks. Well, the diesel fuel, I found out that myself just by sniffing around this building 5 years ago, but nobody would listen to me then. Emergencies in the neighborhood. It's happened several times in my neighborhood where there's been a police presence just as recently as 2 weeks ago, chasing people from West Hartford. So what are we doing about here and now and not later on? As far as the Mill Pond Pool Park Building Committee, your agenda, and I've asked this before, is not very open and transparent to someone like myself. The last time the Mill Pond Pool Park Building Committee was on, there was a back and forth between Councilor Minkey and Councilor Page. Fortunately, I was able to follow it because I listened to all this that's been going on for the last 3 or 4 years. Plus, I look at the Parks and Rec minutes and I watched the Parks and Rec meeting after this town council meeting. I would suggest instead of side conversations going on, that everything be up in front of the people here. I urged the town hall rental committee not to be playing games with the CIP funds and to be honest with the residents. That didn't happen. So I'm asking now, as this project goes forward, and I know it will, that you bring it forth to the public periodically. I shouldn't have to be watching the it's not going to be Mill Pond Park Committee. I shouldn't have to watch the pool committee, Parks and Rec, and this committee this town council to figure out what is going on. It's like putting a puzzle together. Speaking of which, I am very confused as to the resolution before you tonight, and I don't have it with me. And there's not one on the table, but in reading it, it seemed to me that there was a resolution with no number, no date, no whatever, to disband the Mill Pond Park Building Committee, which I thought you did last week or last meeting. Then there is a resolution to establish a pool committee, town pool committee for the aquatics. Please be specific when you give them their charge, because we went rogue. We went a little bit too far, in my opinion, the last time. But the one thing I'd like to bring to your attention is, it says the committee is going to be made up of 7 members, two town councilors and 2 members of Parks and Rec Commission. It doesn't mention the 3 people from the public in the resolution itself. From what I saw, maybe I had the wrong information, maybe again, a copier didn't copy the right thing, but it's shown as 2 town council, 2 Parks and Rec, and 3 members of the public, but it's not in the resolution that I see. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Scott Kraskowski, 46 Miami Avenue. Before I start, I'm glad we started at 7 p.m. so I can go home and have dinner. And I also had a Snickers bar, so we should be good tonight. On to the Garfield Street thing here. This week I've been editing a lot of videos from past town council meetings. A lot of them I haven't posted online yet. Do plan on posting those. But one thing became plainly obvious to me. This has nothing to do with an EOC. An EOC is a nice thing because we got a grant for it. But really what we're after is the expansion of space for town hall. So let's call this project what it is, Town Hall Expansion Project. The grant, Jamie was nice enough to send me a copy of the grant, which I put online, and I'm a dummy, so I don't know what the grant stuff means, but I had people check out the grants, and a lot of stuff we were told in the grant, people who are experts in grants can't find a lot of stuff we're told. And we're relying on town employees to give us accurate information. And from what I'm seeing and what I'm being told, some of the stuff we're being told is not completely accurate. I still want to know the answer to the question, how we came up with the number of $1.833 million to renovate 5,000 square feet of this new building when we don't have a building committee, we don't have any drawings, we don't have any plans, we don't have an architect. It's a very exact number to come to $1.833 million with nobody. There's been no check of the building that is required. In fact, I believe the grant says that certain things must be in place as far as checking out the building and the location of the building. Those things I don't believe have been done yet. A lot of unanswered questions. I don't believe you guys are going to vote on it tonight. I do believe that you are going to take the time to try figuring this out. With that said, if this $1 million grant was a grant for human services, I would be shouting from the mountain, let's get this done. But the afterthought here is this emergency operations center. And as we heard, this operations center is larger than one that runs emergency operations center for 6 states. 5,000 square feet is a lot of space. Maybe bring it down and make some more space for town hall, but we need to figure out the total cost of this thing, because once we buy it, we got to do the entire thing. It's not just 5,000 square feet and then let the rest of the building rot. And we still need to know what's in that building. No building survey has been done. No, anything has been done as far as stuff. This building's from the 1960s. As far as I know, the walls have never been broken open. And what are we going to find when we get in there? Lots of things we need to learn about this project before we do it. I'm not against an EOC, and I'm definitely not against moving a place like the Human Services over there, but we just need to know the answers because we don't have an open checkbook. People are upset their taxes are going up. Next year we're getting reevaluation. People's taxes are probably going to go up. My house on Zillow went from $200,000 to $400,000 in 2 years as a valuation. It's just like, we got a lot of stuff coming down the line. And then other departments, library, fire department, and others are looking to purchase, expand, rebuild, remodel. We got to look at all this stuff and figure out what order we need to do this in and what's best for the town. Anyways, I had my Snickers bar tonight. I'm being good. So have a good night.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Town Council, Jamie. My name is Stanley Sobieski. I reside at 26 Deepwood Drive, Newington, Connecticut. I've been a resident of this town for 75 years. The only one that's got me beat in this room right now is Rose. Anyway, I'm in favor of the EOC, and I'll tell you why. Over the past week, we've had 2 warnings of hurricanes coming through and severe weather. Nowhere was a reverse 911 from the town of Newington, from the fire department, or from Eversource. We have people in this town who have flip phones, as Rose said. Other people, seniors, don't have phones at all, other than landlines. We have no way of notifying our public what's going on, our residents. Now, I don't know, and I'm not a mathematician, but I don't know how much money you want to put on a human life. Is 1.8 million too much or too little? As far as I'm concerned, we need to get a warning system. We need to have an EOC set up like the state has, the state armory. We need to have this. And this is a very important point. Every resident in the town of Newington here, including the town council and everybody in this room, all right, is in danger of something happening. Now, you've heard about that trailer that's out there. If you remember, and several people here do, when we had a shooting, it was several people killed at the lottery. All right, we had a command post that was at the back of a Winnebago, basically. We need to have something that's there. Once a month drill, one person from highway, one person from parks, from fire, one person from police, just to run it through. We need to be prepared because things are going to be changing. We live in a changing society. Nobody really cares and nobody has any respect for anybody anymore, as I observed at the last town council meeting here. So I'm going to say that it's about time. Let's get something done that we're going to be able to have our residents have a place to get notified and true and accurate information. Not something put on Facebook, not on a personal Facebook page. That's my opinion. And I know one person here that has worked for the state, and I do know, other than me, and I do know that when you get information, you want accurate information. And that's something that this town does not do. All right, I know when Chief Clark was here, they were working on a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, the chief left. That's my opinion. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Good evening, Wendy Holness, 31 Barkledge Drive, Newington. And I am here tonight to support having an EOC. I think that we definitely need an EOC, and I have heard a lot of support for an EOC from the prior 2 meetings where this was brought up as well. The disputes seem to be about money and other things. Being in the IT business, I can tell you that the time to know you need an EOC is not in the middle of an emergency. The time is now, and it's like insurance. You never know if you did the right thing until you use it. And if we don't ever use it, that's great. But if we do, boy, we're going to be happy we did it. So it's an insurance policy. And I agree that the recent storms that came through really opened up my eyes about, I didn't know what was going on. I was in a restaurant at the time. I had no idea what was going on. I also, in the back of my mind, think about a lot of things to do with children, with what's going on in the world, with what's going on in schools and gun violence and whatnot. I'm worried about emergency situations around that, where time is of the essence. You don't have time to wheel in the equipment and plug it in. So I am in support of that. I love the location. I agree with Ed Noivo, location, location, location. You couldn't pick a better spot. You couldn't pick a better building. It will give us a campus-like feel. So I am really in support of going with that building. Maybe not every I is dotted or every T is crossed, but I feel you've done the diligence. I put faith in all of you. I know that you work in good faith. I think we should move ahead with the EOC for 28 Garfield. And then with respect to the pool, I share some frustration that was expressed at the last council meeting. Can we get something done? The pools are 60 years old. I'm tired of people squabbling about if it's going to collapse or not collapse, or this inspector or that inspector, or leaking, or how much. they need to be addressed. They definitely need to be addressed. Let's get working on that. I like the idea of looking at it holistically. Let's look at both parks. Let's figure it out. I have faith. We got some really good people in this town that can have it figured out. I like the idea of disbanding the former committee. I'm sorry, but I worked in the private sector. If you get nothing done, I'm not going to keep putting you in a place to get something done. I need change. So I support the new disbanding of the old committee and putting in the new committee. I thank you all for your time. I hope that there will be a decision tonight, and thank you all for your efforts.
Thank you.
Good evening, all. I'm Sandy Nafis, 49 Whitewood Road, Newington. I know I don't come to these meetings a lot, but I do keep a close eye on you guys. And I am only here tonight to say one thing and one thing only, and that is I really support the purchase of 28 Garfield Street. I certainly support the EOC as well, and I leave it in your capable hands to figure out the details. I know there's been many things mentioned tonight as issues here and there. I know you know the process. I know you know what you need to do. We may not have an opportunity to have that building for much longer if we don't move, and we need to. That building is an opportunity for the future of Newington for many reasons, for many things that we may need in the future. And that's why I really hope that you will move forward tonight and vote to support that purchase. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen from the council. I'm Vincent Morris. I live on 20 Deming Farm Drive, and I'm relatively new to the town. And I've listened to the arguments today. I'm indeed supportive of the concepts and all the arguments that those people in favor of doing the project are. There seems to have been support for this both in the previous administration and this one. And at the last meeting, they read the proposal in its entirety. It was thorough, well thought out, and seemed to indicate plenty of due diligence. There is funding and a mechanism for financing. The function is appropriate. The location is appropriate. And indeed, an emergency operations center is a very fine thing in almost any community, and it's located well. Having said that, there are things that you could look at. There might be an earthquake and be a fault underneath there, and hire a geologist. I think proper due diligence has been done. The proposal is good. And I don't think you ought to waste any more time on it. I think you ought to vote it tonight and let the council, by its vote, let us know what we're going to do.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the room or over Zoom that would like to participate in public participation? Do we have any email correspondence? We had one email, I think.
The board an email to the entire council earlier today from a resident. I don't know if they indicated they wanted it read into the record.
It was, there's a 24-hour limit.
That one, yeah, that one.
There was an
another
email
one
that
before
person.
that, though.
I don't have anything from more than 24 hours ago.
Okay,
Wasn't here from Mr. Ostrowski.
yeah, it was one we got.
Monday at 6:45, he sent it in. I could forward it to you right now if you want.
Okay, so we did get one email yesterday. Counselor Mackey?
I did get that one and I did read it, but
Don't think
I don't believe he asked to have it read into the minutes. So-
That's fine. No, I don't, yeah, I don't
We
even
all
read
read it.
it. Yeah, no, I just want to acknowledge that there was.
And we
an email
could
received.
state that he was in favor of 20 Garfield.
Yes.
We don't have to say anything.
I think he did say to read it into the minutes.
I think he did
but-
say to read it.
But we could be wrong, but can we check it? Yeah.
You can put his name, you can put his name and address and say that he received the
Right.
email correspondence from him.
Yeah, that's all.
That's
And
fine.
then we can put it into the record.
Right, so it's part of the record, yeah. Right. We don't usually read them in.
Forwarded afterwards.
Yeah, I
That's
didn't
fine.
receive it yesterday. I'm sorry. I just got it now.
No, that's
Thank
fine.
you.
Yeah, so we did receive an email correspondence from Greg Ostrinsky, Audubon Avenue,
268,
260 something on Avenue. That'll be in the record. Okay. Very good. Moving right along, remarks by counselors on public participation. Counselor Menke.
Just a couple quick comments. Mr. Nueva, I'm not sure why you asked all the Republicans if they've been into a trailer in a tornado. I can say for my part, I've never been in a tornado or in a mobile home. So if that makes it easier, I've never been either one. I wasn't advocating a mobile home as EOC. I wasn't advocating and not being an OC. I agree with Ms. Lyons that I think we should, as part of our website, there should be some kind of a notification. I was coming home from Washington with a van full of scouts on Friday and on Sunday, and all of a sudden everybody's phone went off because they all have that weather alert kind of thing. And I think we should have something similar to our on our website that people could sign up for, and you could get a weather alert because you may not be part of all those other apps that all the cool kids have these days. But it would be nice if the town could put something out and maybe some instructions what to do if you do strike or a tornado. I don't think an EOC would help us in that situation because it was just a warning at that point and there was no touchdown of a tornado. So you wouldn't have activated the EOC just on a warning. And even if you did, you couldn't have probably activated it fast enough to respond. But I think the idea of having some kind of a alert going out to our citizens, we let everybody know about a missing dog or a missing cat or a missing canary. I think something like a potential tornado would be important. And so I agree that when we redo the website, hopefully that's still being worked on. When we redo the website, I think that would be some kind of you could sign up for alerts. I think that'd be kind of a neat way to know if everybody in town that doesn't have those other cool apps.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other remarks by counselors? Seeing none, we will move on to new business, agenda 7, item A. Oops. Old business, sorry, excuse me. Old business, agenda item 7, A, budget transfers. Deputy Mayor Rada, would you please read the resolution or do we read the certification too? Yeah, okay. So the whole thing. Yep.
Certification. In accordance with section 808 of the town charter, I hereby certify that there exists, free from encumbrances, in the following appropriations in general fund, the amounts listed below. Account number 960, title contingency, amount $67,158. Account number 940, employee benefits, amount $52,455. Janet Murphy, Director of Finance. Resolved that the Newington Town Council hereby transfers the above certified funds to the following accounts in the general fund. Account number 160, Town Attorney, amount $35,000. Account number 180, Personnel, amount $8,175. Account number 230, Fire Department, amount $52,455. Account number 440, Zoning Board of Appeals, amount $2,000. Account number 810, Parks Administration, amount $4,400. And account number 1010, interest expense, amount number $17,583. Be it further resolved that the town manager is authorized to make additional transfers from unencumbered balance of appropriations within the general fund to the administrative, municipal, and police pension trust funds in the amount not to exceed $300,000.
Motion. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Menke. Any discussion? Counselor Bajeko.
Is Janet on? She is.
Jen, I just have a question. And I should have maybe asked it last week, but it's somewhat related, but it's in your the town of Newington status of expenditures. I'm just curious as to, under the Board of Ed, it says spent or encumbered as of May 31st, 24. Only 34,000 or 34,390,609. How are they?
That's a typo. That's a typo. I didn't update their number. Yeah.
Oh, okay, because it's just, I don't know how they're gonna spend that much in the next month, so.
No, they actually, as of the end of May, I can tell you, have it with me. Since I wasn't looking to do a transfer there, I gotta be honest, I didn't pay as much attention as I should. Sorry about that. They, as of the end of May, had spent, sorry, trying to find their account. They had spent, shoot. I'll have to send you that one. I think they spent between 60 and 70 million already. They didn't have that much left when I looked at their numbers.
Okay, great, thank you. I was just concerned, thank you.
No problem.
Council Maggie.
Shannon, just two quick questions. Under interest expense or 17,583, that was because of the bonding, as I recall, is that correct?
That was because the bonding, when we originally went out to bond, the interest rate, we'd already approved our budget and the interest rate came in higher than we originally anticipated.
Okay. And I just would compliment you moving $300,000 to the pension the fund. I think that's a smart move, and I appreciate that you do that every year. You move extra money to the pension fund. It's sort of, paying off your mortgage a little faster than you normally would.
Trying to get up to that 100% funded that everybody wants us to be at.
Right. Well, thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
Councilman Draco, you got your hand up again?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have one more question, Janet. Just for clarification, some of that money is being moved from the police full-time salaries of 300,000, and that's because of the number of vacancies we had this year, basically, why we have that
Correct.
much money.
Yeah,
Okay.
originally at one point we had like 10 vacancies. I
But
think
when
we've
we're-
got it down. I think we've got it down to 3 or 4 now. But yeah, the overtime didn't offset that as much as a full-time salary was.
But we, we took that into account in our budgeting for the next fiscal year, so we should be all set. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other discussion with councilors? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second on the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries unanimously. Moving right along to item 7B, tax suspension list. Council Gonzalez, would you mind reading the resolution?
Sure. Resolved that the Newington Town Council hereby authorizes a transfer in the amount of $184,694.20 to the suspense tax book for the list year 2022-2023. This action is being taken upon the recommendation of Corian Alginger, Revenue Collector, as shown on a report dated June 6, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion on this? Seeing none, motion and a second on the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Good morning, second part, yeah.
Resolved that the Newington Town Council hereby authorizes the outstanding balance from the 2008 grand list in the amount of $9,281.14 be removed from the town's receivable assets as of June 30th, 2024, as per the recommendation of Corian Alginger, Revenue Collector, as shown on a report dated June 6, 2024.
Second. Motion by Council Gonzalez, second by Council Floyd. Any discussion? Council Mackey.
Yeah, Jen, I don't know if you have the information on this, but do you know what our tax collection rate is?
Our tax collection rate as of the end of May was at approximately 99%.
Wow, excellent. Okay. Great job.
Any other discussion from councilors? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 7C, purchase of 28 Garfield Street. Councilor Page, would you read the resolution?
Yes, Mayor. Resolved that the Newington Town Council hereby approves the special appropriation ordinance number 2325-01, an ordinance adopting a special appropriation for the purchase of 28 Garfield Street for the purchase of the 3.137 acre property located at 28 Garfield Street, Newington, Connecticut.
Second.
A motion by Councilor Page, seconded by Deputy Mayor Arata. And discussion. Councilor Mackey.
Oh, my hands up already?
Yep.
I will yield to it. It's from the last time.
Oh, gotcha. No problem. Councilor Floyd.
I have things to say. Don't worry. I just got organized. Yeah, don't worry. I have everything to say.
Thank you. I'm gonna try to be brief. I know I can go on pretty long. I fight with Dave over there, maybe sometimes to go on longer. But I just want to say a few words. For many months, I, along with every member of the council, have thoroughly and thoughtfully considered the proposed purchase of OFI, carefully weighing the potential benefits and opportunities against disadvantages. And I just want to say, as we've all reiterated at different points in this process, just reiterate a thank you to our town staff who have overcome countless obstacles, answered many, many, many new questions that have come along the way, and have moved this ball forward despite all of that. And who have done so, I should add, with the utmost diligence and professionalism every single step of the way. So I just want to reiterate that. And, despite numerous false starts in the past, and, putting this project down and picking it up and so on, you have continued moving forward. And I just have a lot of faith every single day, knowing that we can benefit from your talents and your efforts here in our town. So I just want to say that. And it's because of your hard work on those presentations and fact sheets and other public informational materials that we know the benefits that can come from this purchase, of which there are potentially many. However, after careful consideration, I cannot in good conscience vote in favor of this purchase, and I'll tell you why. First, I want to say it is abundantly clear that our current emergency operations infrastructure, which can take several hours in the midst of a crisis, is inadequate. Increases in extreme weather, a glimpse of which we just got over the weekend, as some folks have mentioned, and not to mention the real and present dangers of gun violence, as others have mentioned, and so many other possible crises in our modern day, mean that our ability to respond quickly and effectively to avoid potential implications of a delayed response can save lives. A dedicated emergency operations center is without question vital to accomplishing that. And the property on Garfield Street, too, also comes with unique opportunities. Not only with its pristine location will it provide opportunities for significant new public parking that can benefit programming in our center of town and in our municipal center, but it may also offer new opportunities for growth in services and municipal infrastructure, which may allow us to better meet our community's rapidly expanding needs. There is little doubt in my mind that this project may come with some tangible benefits. That being said, a simple fact remains the case today as we come to a vote. We do not know the full cost of this project. And let me just say, it is of course true, as has been affirmed with formal legal opinion, not from one, but from two town attorneys, that in line with our charter, the cost for renovation and the cost for purchasing OFI are distinct and in fact separate. That has been made abundantly clear. But to say that the vote this evening is on the acquisition of the property alone without regard for anything else is ultimately, I think, and forgive me, misleading. From the start of this process, the public has been presented with and had the opportunity to review and speak to both the cost to the purchase of 28 Garfield Street and the cost to renovate the 5,000 square feet that will be occupied by the Emergency Operations Center. or roughly 40% of the main floor space. We've seen those numbers, you've seen those numbers, I won't bear repeating them now. But the public and us at the table, I would add, have not had the opportunity to apply that same level of scrutiny to the costs for the remaining 60% of the building. And that is not small or insignificant. It is 60% of the space, representing perhaps significant costs. In fact, even worse, it's not even clear what will go in the remaining portion of the building. While the council could make a formal recommendation to place human services, or for that matter, anything else in the remaining space subject to a thorough needs assessment, a recommendation that the council was set to make just 2 weeks ago when such a resolution was included in the agenda packet, that resolution for some reason is not before us tonight. At some point in the future, these now invisible costs will appear, and to be fair, they will be budgeted by a future council, meaning they will be subject to public hearings and a full budget process. But the reality is that by then, they'll sit within a lengthy document among many other important hot topic items that members of the public may rightfully so prefer to use their 4 minutes at the mic to discuss. And of course, the council by that time will have little choice, after having already bought the building, than to approve whatever renovation costs they turn out to be, or otherwise risk undermining the council's investment. I have felt strongly for months before this process began in public that the public deserves to know how big of a bill they're being expected to foot before we buy this building, not after. And after seeing that cost, taxpayers of all stripes may strongly support this project, and I hope that they would. But the best time for that to happen is right now, not 2 years from now. In my view, this concern goes beyond the benefits that may come from this particular project, because it gets to the heart of our responsibility to you. I deeply respect and sincerely appreciate all of the comments that members of the community have brought over the past month, including tonight, where we have such great turnout. And I've wrestled, as all of us have, God knows, on the council, intently listening to every last word of those comments. And I hope you've seen that we take those comments very seriously, and that while democracy sometimes can be a messy thing, this difficult, robust dialogue does matter. And while we may come to disagree at times, I do not, of course, for a second doubt that everyone here is carefully exercising their best judgment as they have looked to find the solution that best serves our town and moves us forward. At the end of the day, this project, including its flaws, is one that we inherited. And I have confidence that we will be able to move forward in a positive way. Thank you.
Councilor. Councilor Page.
Thanks, Mayor. I want to thank everyone who's come out tonight, and I want to thank everyone who's come out in previous public hearings and in public participation. Everyone who has said they're against this project, everyone who said they're for it, and others who have said they're not so sure, maybe, because it's a lot of moving pieces. Thank you. I also want to thank DJ, who I don't see, and Lauren and Joe for all of your hard work and your patience and your perseverance, and thank all the stakeholders who have been patient with this process. That's it. Thank you.
Councilor. Councilor Menke.
Just kind of echoing what Councilor Byrd said. To be clear, I always been in favor of an EOC. I think an EOC is important for a town. I don't like our current setup of, kind of a closet at the police department, if you will. I do like the location of 28 Garfield Street. I think that's an ideal spot. It's part of the campus, if you will. It's close by. I like all those things, and I've always been in favor of an EOC at that location. The council looked at many other locations, and some were viable and some were just impossible to make work. But I appreciate the fact that the staff has worked hard to bring us all of the information we can. I think if nothing else, over the last, 2 councils ago and a council ago and this council last 6 months, we've talked EOC to death amongst ourselves. And frankly, I'd like to be able to go to sleep at night without having to worry about my vote on the EOC. It all for me comes down to the cost. We know what the fixed cost is. We know what it costs to buy the building. We know what it costs to renovate the 5,000 square feet. We know where the the money is gonna come from, the 1.8, to buy the building comes out of the general fund, out of your taxpayers' money, our taxpayers' money. The other $1 million is a grant, which also comes out of our taxpayers' money, just out of different pockets. I mean, someone's taxing us for that, I'm sure. And then the 833,000 has already been budgeted, and that comes out of our pockets too. So I get all that, and I understand where the money comes from. My concern, like Councilor Plord, and I was also surprised that the motion that was in the last time to say what's going to go into that spot isn't in the packet this time. But we have extra room now in the EOC in that building, 20 Garfield, and what's going to go in there, and how are we going to move something in there, what we're going to move in there, and then more importantly, how are we going to pay for it? Because we just can't, go all get together with our pickup trucks and drive stuff over there and get a couple of nails and hammers and make walls and all. It's gonna be cost money to do that. And I would rather see the full estimate of what it's gonna cost for the full project, because we know we're like pretending there's no other cost, but that we know there is other costs. If you move something into the extra, you said 60% of the building, I guess I'll take your word for it. I didn't measure it, but 60% of the building, there's cost. There's cost to move human services in there. There's cost to move IT in there. There's cost to move, even cost to just leave it vacant and just let it sit there. So I'm not sure I can support this. I do like the idea. I do like the location. I do see the need for an EOC. But I don't like the idea of having this impending expense over my head or over our heads as taxpayers, because that expense could have thrown it over the referendum limit. And I think if that case, then we should have gone to referendum and got it done that way. So that's my 2 cents.
Councilor Pacheco.
Yeah, again, I'll just piggyback off of what Councilor Menke just said. Obviously, the cost, the unknown cost basically is what the concern is, but also over the past 2 weeks, the past month, listening to the public. Previously, it appeared it was a laser focus on, the EOC, it had to be 5,000 feet. This is what it had to contain. And I'm sure a state-of-the-art EOC is wanted, but the town deserves it. But I was quite educated, I guess, by the fact of how other communities perhaps are managing their EOCs in terms of space requirements, in terms of population versus what the utilization of the EOC would be, and also some of the other creative alternatives that people from the public have came up with, which I don't even think were mentioned in some of the previous discussions over the past year and a half. So the fact that, first of all, that there are other alternatives, and I'm not sure, in my mind, at least I wasn't able to comprehend the opportunity or the possibility, along with the fact that I'm getting very, I'm conflicted, just like Councilor Plord said too. The 28 Garfield Street, wow, what a great acquisition for the town. I mean, it would be wonderful, part of the campus. We do need the space, whatever. But in terms of using the grant for the EOC, I think could be managed perhaps in another way or another location, whatever. I don't feel that we would have to necessarily, we wouldn't have to throw away that grant, that $1 million. We have other opportunities within town. But if we could just slow the process down, and it would be great to get the 28 Garfield Street and possibly put the EOC there, but we don't know how much in the overall is going to cost. And even the legal opinion that we got, are we going to be going every year, to be adding on this? It is going to be taking it over the amount for referendum. And a previous speaker had said something about, well, the referendum requirements, 1.5, that's, another town has 10 million. Well, I think that it's taxpayers' money. And personally, I prefer 1.5% or what of our budget. Because that is taxpayers' money, and if up to 10 million, just leaving it in the hands of 9 people, no, I don't think that's responsible or fair to the taxpayers. So if this is gonna be, once we get the right costs or right-sized a little bit or more information, then maybe the taxpayers should have a say in it. Sorry for the rambling, but that's the thoughts that came to my head.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Nagel.
Thank you. I will be brief, as you can tell by my voice. I've got serious vocal problems. They're being taken care of. Mr. Plourd, I do agree with you. I talked shorter than you did tonight. And I too have the same concerns that previous people had. And can't see moving forward with this tonight in its present form. And if I cough, it's not because I have anything against anybody. If I leave, it's only because of that, not because of how anybody feels about one side or the other. And keep quiet, David.
Counselor Mackey?
I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we did get an email, I think yesterday, from DJ and the people working on this with all the stakeholders having a chance to weigh in on the EOC. And I think that was refreshing that all the people who potentially could use an EOC have had the chance to weigh in and give their requirements or their concerns or their input. And I think, whatever we decide with an EOC going forward, it's not a trend that I believe should continue. We should let all those people have a say in how it's laid out or how it's built. And I'm sure that'll happen should this go forward.
All right. Susan, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Draco,
No.
Counselor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Counselor Meady,
No.
Counselor Nagel,
No.
Counselor Page,
Yes.
Counselor Ford.
No.
Deputy Mayor Rada,
Yes.
Counselor Tiniakos.
Yes.
Yes. Motion carries 5-4. All right. Moving right along to old business item 7D. Thanks, sir. Do we need to read the other item, the other part of it?
I think so. We don't.
Oh,
Was that part?
Sorry, get your question?
Do we have to read the other part? of The motion, or that's part of the thing that's posted, right?
If this is the language that
ordinance,
was
right.
posted, it doesn't hurt to read it. It's
want me to
attached to the
I'm
resolution.
happy to read it.
Go ahead.
You want me to? Mayor?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Ordinance 2325-01. Ordinance adopting a special appropriation for the purchase of 28 Garfield Street. Whereas pursuant to Connecticut General Statute, Section 7-148C, et sequitur, is that? I don't.
Nice work.
A municipality may acquire any real property for public use, and whereas the town of Newington Town wishes to acquire 3.137 acre property known as 28 Garfield Street, the property, and whereas the town has determined that the aforementioned real property is needed for public use, and whereas the town of Newington Charter allows for a special appropriation from any unappropriated and unencumbered balance in the town treasury. Now therefore, to meet the needs and safety of the community, be it ordained by the town council of the town of Newington, Section 1, that there is currently available within the general fund an unappropriated and unencumbered balance to meet the requested special appropriation. Section 2, in accordance with Section 808 of the Newington Town Charter, the Director of Finance certifies that there exists free from encumbrances in the general fund, the amount listed below, from account number 1-4999, fund balance $1,800,000 from Janet Murphy, Director of Finance. And I guess I continue.
Sorry.
No worries. Section 3, that the Newington Town Council hereby transfers the above certified funds to the public building capital improvement account, the amount of $1,800,000. Section 4, the Director of Finance, upon the adoption of the ensuing ordinance, is directed to encumber the special appropriation in the amount of $1,800,000 for the acquisition of the property located at 28 Garfield Street. Section 5, the acting town manager, Jamie Trevathan, upon the adoption of the ensuing ordinance, is authorized to negotiate and execute a purchase and sale agreement for the acquisition of the property located at 28 Garfield Street. Section 6, the acting town manager, Jamie Trevathan, upon adoption of the ensuing ordinance, is authorized to negotiate and execute a short-term lease agreement between the town of Newington and Creative Office Resources for the property located at 28 Garfield Street. Section 7, the acting town manager, Jamie Trevathan, is authorized to take all actions necessary and proper to carry out this ordinance and to execute any additional documents necessary in furtherance thereof. Section 8, this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage, and such encumbrance shall not lapse unless repealed by no less than 6 votes of the Newington Town Council. A copy of the proposed ordinance is available in the town clerk's office, 200 Garfield Street, Newington, Connecticut, dated at Newington, Connecticut, this 21st day of May 2024. Attested to James E. Krapinski, CC, Town Clerk.
Thank you very much. All right, moving along to 7D. Oops, go ahead.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
Just now that this is passed, and I seem to recall that, I think it was Mr. Solomon that said there'll be now a period of purchasing a sales purchase agreement, and then we'll do our due diligence to make sure that the building is up to code and everything, like a home inspection, if you will. Okay. And you'll let us know if there's any problems that have. Thank you.
All right, moving on to 7D, Administrative Classification Plan Update. Councilor Tiniakis, would you mind reading the resolution, please?
Sure. Resolved that the Newington Town Council hereby authorizes Jamie Trevathan, acting town manager, to update and modify the administrative group pay ranges within the town's classification and pay plan effective July 1st, 2024, and adopted as of June 25th, 2024, a copy of which is attached to this resolution.
Motion by Councilor Tiniakis,
Second.
seconded by Deputy Mayor Rada. Any discussion? Councilor Mankey?
No, is that my hand's still up there? But okay, it's up there, I'll speak for now. I just would point out that this is something we do all the time. We do this every year. It's not anything specific to this year or the other year. Just every year we have to upgrade the pay scale to keep with the raises. So, and I'll take my hands down. Sorry.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to our final old business item, 7E, Upon Park Pool Project Building Committee. We did, there was the resolution to disband the previous committee was put in here again, but we did do that at the previous meeting, so we don't need to do that again. Councilor Floyd, would you please read the resolution?
I'll just add before I do
Sure.
that in line with Ms. Lyon's comments, which are well taken as someone who helped write this resolution, that was a printing error, or a typing error, whatever it might have been. So I will add 3 members of the public when I read the resolution. Resolved in accordance with Article, Roman numerals 10, Section 8-38 et sequitur, Project Building Committees of the Newington Code of Ordinances, the Newington Town Council hereby establishes a Town Pool Project Building Committee, which committee is charged to work with the town manager and/or his/her designee and any other appropriate town staff in the development of plans to upgrade the town's aquatic facilities, including those located at Mill Pond Park and Churchill Park. The resulting facilities shall comply with the appropriate sections of the Fire Code, Health Code, Building Code, and OSHA regulations of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and any other health and/or safety code regulations currently in force. Be it further resolved, the Town Pool Project Building Committee shall be comprised of 7 members, of which 2 shall be representatives of the Town Council, and 2 shall be from the Board of Parks and Recreation, and 3 shall be members of the public. Be it further resolved that the Newington Town Council hereby appoints the following members to the Town Pool Project Building Committee. NTC rep AJ Tiniakos, 129 Rosalie Drive, Party D, term NTC term.
It's Avenue.
Avenue, thank you. And as far as the other partisan reps, I will go through ours first. Board of Parks and Recreation Rep, Eileen Francolino, 116 Lydall Road, Party D, term Board of Parks and Recreation term. Public Member, Sandy Nafis, 49 Whitewood Drive, Party D, term inception to project completion. Public Member James Parati, 175 Hillcrest Avenue, Party D, term inception to project completion.
Want to do the other one too?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. There is one for, you do have, Tim, you do as a Republican. who's
Right.
nominated. Do you want to read
Would you
that
like
one, or
me
do
to
wanna
read it,
do
or? I don't know the member's address, so you may need to fill that in for me. But name Board of Parks and Recreation Rep, Carol Anist. I'm not familiar. with
Harding Avenue.
Harding Avenue, something, thank you. Party R, term Board of Parks and Recreation term.
Very good. We have a motion on the table from Councilor Floyd,
Second.
seconded by Councilor Chiriakis. Any discussion? Councilor Mankin.
Again, just for the record, I do like splash pads and I do like pools. I can see me running to the splash pad with my grandkids and I can't see me using the pool, but I'm definitely told to use a pool. I've always been in favor of a pool, but I like the way we're looking at the pools in total. I like the way we're looking at not just one pool, but all of our pools, because I don't want to fix one pool and then have someone come back to me and or whoever's sitting in these chairs 2 years, 3 years from now and say, oh, now we have to fix the next pool and here's another $10 million to fix the pool. My concern with the previous pool proposal is the location. I didn't like the location. I still don't like the location that's proposed. I'm concerned about I'm a Zen guy. I like the view across the pond and I like the view across the soccer field and I like the view across to the farm. And I'm also concerned about parking. Parking is a big issue, I think, where the past location was suggested, but I think this committee should look at all things. I am concerned, however, that I get the sense that this is going to be rushed through so we can get this on a referendum to the town in November, which means that during the course of July and part of August, they'll be working furiously to try to get this pushed through. I think this, if anything, the town council should have learned to try to push something through over the summer, hoping that no one's paying attention is maybe a bad idea. I think it's important we look at everything holistically, but we take our time and look at everything, not just take the plan that was suspended last time, rubber stamp it, and then push it through. It didn't work last time we tried to do something with the park, and I don't think it's going to work this time. But I do like the fact that we are looking at the whole process, and I do like the fact that we're doing something with the pools. I've always said we should do something with the pools. What we do is going to be the charge of the committee, then the charge of the council, and ultimately the charge of the voters. And I would urge the voters to keep their eye on what's going on, because I think it's important to know where your pool money is going to get spent.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Page.
Thanks, Mayor. There was a time, I guess probably about 65 years ago, where if you sat in the park at Mill Pond, maybe it was 66 or 7 years ago, I don't know the exact year, and you looked at the pond and then across to the fields, maybe over towards Willard, you wouldn't see a big building in front of the pond with a big chain link fence and a hot dog stand. There was a time when if you went to hang out in the park or listen to music or ride your bike or jog, there wasn't a big cinder block building in front of our beautiful pond. And I don't know what the debate was back 65 plus or minus years ago. I imagine there were some folks who were enthusiastic about this newfangled thing called a built-in pool we could have, so we don't have to swim in the pond anymore and all the associated critters that we would swim with. But there were folks enthusiastic, but there were probably folks as tonight and in previous meetings and folks who have protested in the past when proposals have come out and will, I'm sure, discuss this passionately on Facebook and other public forums, who will be against yet again another change 7 decades later. I'd like people just to think about what we're doing relative or in the context of the history of our beautiful town, which everyone here loves so much and everyone listening loves so much, which is when we propose a building in our park, people get passionate. They get either upset or enthusiastic. And I imagine they did that 70 years ago. And they're going to do it, and they are doing it now. We're going to do that now. We're going to engage that one more time. So I just would invite us to think not just about if it's going to go here or here, if in fact it gets to that point, but what have we done over the last 100 years and 200 years and 300 years? There wasn't a pool there at one point. So let's keep that historical perspective, I would urge us. And I also look forward to hearing from people who are experts with their recommendations. And I look forward to having dialogue with this council, this leadership, and with the leadership of this committee, so we can have, passionate debates about whether we should change or not change, keep it the same, or do something different. Or, I just look forward to that debate. And I think that we can do that with our emotion, but we can also do that with all the data that's been presented. And I've had the fortune, as I think we all have had, to look at those plans and that data. And I think let's stay focused on that and what our options are. And I just look forward to, and I appreciate, one last thing, I really sincerely appreciate the folks that work far harder and longer nights than I ever have even begun to about this pool. And people are proud of their hard work. I'd like to say that we could collectively be very proud of presenting a plan to the public to weigh in on, and finally get something done. So thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Bedrego.
Yes, I'm glad that we are looking at both pools, because as Councilor Menke said, they're both about the same age, they're both probably in the same condition, and the financial ramifications should be brought forth to the public. Just kind of regarding the historical perspective, somehow I don't think 70 years ago there would have been as much outcry, because 70 years ago we had farms, we had a lot of open space. We didn't have to protect the very little parkland or green space that we, because there was a lot of it. Now, a lot of the passion from many people is that we don't have a lot of park space, we don't have a lot of green space, we do have things to protect. So no matter where or when we put in a new building, we want to make sure that we're preserving as much of the green space around it. And I'm sure, and I hope that this new committee will be cognizant of those concerns as well. And I'm assuming that because they are all new members for the most part, they'll come to the table, or they'll start their committee meetings with fresh eyes, not be presented or be expected to not question. I mean, I know a lot of planning has gone into the process. A lot of work has gone in, but I hope that the commission will be open to some new eyes to be questioning, asking for, the needs and wants, and in terms of location, costs, the amenities that may go around it, and that the results coming out of this commission will be something that can be accepted by the residents, this council, and will bring some new aquatic facilities to our town. But I would also hope that, the discussion will be brought before the town council, so we too will be able to question and send questions back to the commission if we do have any, and that they will be responding in a timely manner so that it won't be held up like it was in the past.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Menke?
I just would be remiss if I didn't bring up to everyone's attention again, we do have a permanent public building committee established. We have an ordinance established that we should be taking care of this process. And yet again, we have the committee. We talked about it in February. We were going to make some changes to that committee because we did want it to. I think we all realized that we could make some changes to make that committee more viable. But now we're doing an end run and doing yet another committee to sort of go around what's already in place. I point out just for the public's edification, out of the 7 people on this committee, 3 are members from the public, 2 are from the town council, and 2 are from the Board of Parks and Rec. So really, there's only 3 members from the public on this whole committee, which seems to me, I would have preferred to have more people from the general public. I think we get a better product if general public and not special interests trying to steer the committee. That's my 2 cents, but I just think we still need to do something with the permanent public building committee that still is out there, and we keep pretending it's not, but it is the law of land. If you folks want to get rid of it, that's fine, but do it. Don't just let us keep hanging on there and keep going around with a different building committee.
Thank you, Councilor. Deputy Mayor Rada.
Yeah, well, first of all, just in response to Councilor Mankey, that the subcommittee that will be looking at the current language regarding the Permanent Building Commission is going to be meeting this coming week. It's been a challenge to find dates and times, as we all know. Everyone is busy, but that will be taking place, and we will certainly have information that we will be presenting back to council. As far as the pools are concerned, growing up in this town, I took swimming lessons at Mill Pond Pool, and I won't say what dates, but it was when it was a very new pool. And also swam in Churchill Park Pond that the geese have, you did. We did it. I don't think we had the geese.
We didn't have the geese.
The geese came from some other place after
To get all
the
your
fact.
shots at least.
Yeah, maybe that's why I have problems now at my age, but that's what we had to, that's where we swam long before Churchill Park Pool was created. A lot of work has been done over the last several years. A lot of conversation has taken place. I'm pleased to see that we have a building, how long is the title? Anyway, the Town Pool Project Building Committee now in place to begin to move things forward. We have some fresh faces, some fresh ideas, but please don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Look at what has been done. We're not going to have, I don't think any of us wants a Disneyland at Mill Pond Park, but let's look at what has been done. Look at the engineering studies that have taken place. And, as Councilor Mankey and others have said, I like the idea that we're taking now a more holistic and inclusive approach, that we're looking at both pools, possibly a splash pad. Where will that go? And all to benefit the community, that we are now moving forward as a council, taking action, and I applaud that. I want to thank the work of all those who previously worked on the pools in one way, shape, or form over the years, but I'm pleased to see that we're moving forward with this.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councilor Tiniakis.
Yeah, I want to agree that looking at both pools holistically is a great idea. I think it just makes the most sense. I also agree that having a fresh set of eyes on this is probably a great thing. So that way we can kind of, just focus on moving forward. I don't agree with the notion that we necessarily need to slow down. From my understanding and everything I've been giving from Parks and Rec Board and members of the public, this has been an issue for over a decade now in this town. So I just don't understand how a decade worth of information could happen, and then we still need to slow down this process. If it takes a decade or more to get something done, I don't even know why we show up to this whole event here. So yeah, we want to do it the right way, and yeah, we want to be diligent about it, but by no means do I think we need to drag this out any longer. I think we have plenty of information to move forward, and I think we have a good committee to get that done.
Councilor Mankey.
I'm not advocating we slow down. I'm advocating we do a thorough job. At one point, when I first joined the council, as I said many times, I went to a presentation by the Parks and Rec Board of how we needed to spend $19 million to redo Churchill Park, because Churchill Park was in imminent danger of falling down at any moment. Kids were going to be killed, and sharks were going to eat them. I don't know what, but We were gonna build a lazy river. We were gonna move the parking lot where the pond is and the pond where the parking lot is, and we were gonna put. And I sat there and I was in awe that I had the power as a town council to spend $19 million to build this park. And that was 10 years ago. So if we would have rushed through that at 10 years ago, we would have a $19 million pool at Churchill Park. But cooler heads prevailed and we thought about it and we had some time to digest it and realized that that wasn't the answer. The answer was doing something, and I agree. Just letting it sit and do nothing is not a good idea. But if we're talking about looking at all of our aquatic facilities, that's two pools. That's 2 splash pads or 1 splash pad, a splash pad and a half, or I don't know. Those are important things, and I'm always one that rather than get it done fast, I'd rather get it done right.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion on this? All right, we have a motion by Counselor Floyd, second by Counselor Tiniakis. Can we have a roll call vote, Susan?
Yes. Counselor Patrico?
Yes.
Counselor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Counselor Menke?
Yes.
Counselor Nagel?
Yes.
Counselor Page?
Yes.
Counselor Floyd?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rada?
Yes.
Counselor Tiniakis?
Yes.
Mayor Trista?
Yes. Carries unanimously. All right. That concludes old business. We're moving on to item 8, resignations and appointments. Of which we have a few in there. Actually, I think if you want to explain what we're doing here, we're making some changes to past appointments.
Right, we're just, this is, on recommendation from the town clerk, we're just making some adjustments to previous actions that have been taken on appointments for corrections and clarification. That's my understanding.
Counselor Page, do you and Counselor Meehan want to do the resolution?
We can do some harmony here. Thank you, Mayor. Resolved that the Newington Town Council hereby makes the following amendments to the following appointments. The resolution 2024-50A and 2024-91. The Affordable Housing Monitoring Agency, Zahina Crespo Morales at 247 Adrian Avenue, Party D, term immediate to 11/30/28, replaces Roberta Byron College de facto. John Wallace Middle School Project Building Committee, 7 members of which 2 shall be representatives of the town council, 2 shall be representatives of the Board of Education, 3 shall be members of the public. Counselor Kim Rada, Newington Town Council member, 128 Cambria Avenue, Party D, term immediate to 11/11/2025.
Counselor Dave Nagel, NTC member, 1175 Willard Avenue, Party R, immediate to 11/11/2025.
And Zoning Board of Appeals, Peter Kolakowski, member, address 36 Sunrise Circle, Party D, term immediate to 11/30/25, replaces vacant member.
We have a motion by Counselor Page. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Counselor Tiniakis. Any discussion on these? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 9, consideration of new business. Human Resources Finance Staff Assistant job description. Yeah, you want to explain what?
Yeah, there's no action needed tonight. This
Okay.
will come up for action at a future meeting.
Okay.
This is a new job description, but essentially it was a job that evolved, and now that it's vacant, we took a look at like how it best fit. So essentially this was at one point the floater administrative aid position that was created during the pandemic. The person in that position has transferred to a different department, leaving it vacant, and we kind of looked and said, well, we don't really need a floater anymore. We really need some help in finance, who lost a part-time position during the pandemic, and more dedicated help in the manager's office. So it's the same classification, the same pay range, just updated the duties a little bit more for what we can currently use it for.
Yeah, I need to take some time to read through it. I do have some, I mean, obviously we're not taking action tonight, but I do have some reservations about taking action on a position that's coming out of the town manager's office when we're in the process of picking a brand new town manager. So I do, that's my main concern, but obviously we'll take some time to read through it, and we'll have a look at the next meeting. Councilor Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. I did take a little time to read through the job description, and I have some questions and a couple concerns along those lines. The job description, the duties say that it is human resources. And I wasn't sure what part of this is human resources. In the job description, it seems to me that it was more of, general duties, but I could be wrong. So, that's one question. I also, am wondering if we should be putting a new position in when we are so close to, hopefully close to getting a new town manager. The new town manager may find that there's a different need or, I'm just not sure about that. And when we're changing the job description from what it was before, correct? That's what we're.
No, the administrative aid job remains, but we don't have a need for a floater position anymore. So many of the things that you see in here are things that the floater did while in the town manager's office. It's just memorializing it into a job where they're dedicated between finance and the town manager's office instead of floating around town hall.
Okay, so that answers my question as to why we can't use the same job description. I guess another question was, have we looked at like what neighboring towns are doing or maybe similar sized towns to see what's effective in their office, like town manager's
We're
office?
always kind of comparing. CCM is
Yeah.
a really good resource for that because they do a lot of surveys and evidence stuff, based items. Newington is an outlier because we don't have separate human resources or personnel. The town manager is the personnel director, and we have a shared executive assistant / human resources administrator. So it's kind of hard to compare because it's apples to oranges. Because again, almost every town around us has dedicated human resources staff.
Thank you. So I guess I know we're not making any decisions on this tonight. But,
Janet looks like she wants to weigh in.
hello.
I do want to weigh in, just to give you a little history on this too. Yes, it's funded in the town manager's department, but during COVID, we gave up our part-time position when it became vacant, so we could make it a team player, I'll call it, where if the floater was needed in our office, needed the town managers. When I first got here, the town manager's office only had one person working the front, where Heather Shanti is right now. But previous to that, they used to have 1.5. So they got cut back. This was kind of filling those needs when we put the person in the position 2 years ago. That I only needed a half-time person, they only needed a half-time person, and maybe helping out in other departments when it was needed. And it was easier for you to keep a full-time position than a part-time person because we were seeing too much turnover. So just try to give you some kind of history. This is not something new. This is something that we've always had. And I know you want to wait for another town manager, but I have to say, I'm asking you on behalf of my department, now that the vacancy's there, we're coming into the summer months as we get ready for the auditor, as we get ready for dual payments on dual years for my accounts payable, where people aren't going on vacation, that I need assistance in my office. And I'd like to, if possible, I'm not trying to rush you, but not sit on this too long. There's a definite need we found the past year to make sure that we have some kind of backup helping us out.
So again, this is not a new position. We're not asking for an additional position. The position exists. The funding exists for the position. We're just updating it to our current needs.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Thanks for the explanation. Moving on to 9D, Facilities Naming Subcommittee. Read the packet. There were a few people have been, there's been a few names brought forward to be considered for property naming. Chief Perry submitted the proposal to offer to two late officers, Officer Alan Tancredi and Officer Jerry Lacoste. And we received a proposal to honor Fred Callahan, who just recently passed, and Rip Callahan, who also passed prior to him too. So that will be referred to the naming committee. Any questions or concerns on this? Councilor Mankey.
I thought in my book would be who was on the naming committee?
No.
I think it's myself, Deputy Mayor Rada, and if I had to guess, I think it's Councilor Nagel, but I may be wrong.
Yeah,
Oh, look.
I thought it was but.
Yeah, I think it's.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But
I'm so sorry. It
I thought
could
was
certainly
but
be.
But I have.
I didn't review it recently.
Okay, whatever, just just let us know and we can
Oh,
schedule the
Counselor
meeting.
Nagel has the list.
Oh,
Thank
good.
you.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, this is the vacancies, but thank you.
No, it should be on there.
It's underneath.
It's on the second, the second.
It's okay, I got you.
So when I get a call at midnight that I'm on it. I'm reading out.
And then how it was. Seem to be alphabetical. Excuse me for one
Yeah, you
moment.
go. Yeah, I would be out there. Make it easy.
I'm just gonna look right here. Thank you.
I just take it back.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, we can figure it out later, but I had been on the committee before and I just would, for the public's edification, we take naming things very seriously because there's only so many things you can name. And if you start naming everything, you kind of have to pick and choose. So I think these are certainly worthwhile recommendations or nominations. I think the committee should take some serious look at the four.
It's Counselors Mankey, Plord, and Rada.
Ah, congratulations, Tim.
Say that. Twice here.
So I wait your pleasure.
All right, very good. Any other questions or comments on this? All right. We are done with new business and we'll move on to written and oral communications from the town manager.
There's been some concern, this is regarding the senior center ARPA funding. There's been some concern about whether or not we would receive the actual $90,000 of ARPA funding that the state allocated as part of a $10 million in funding allocated to seniors across the state. At the end of the recently finished legislative session, there were some reductions to the ARPA funding allocated to senior centers. I just want to clarify that does not affect Newington. Our proposal was already submitted. It's in the approval of the State Union on Aging. The way this funding works has to actually approve the projects that we recommended, which the council approved in April, I think. So that should be done shortly. We don't expect any issues there. So we will receive our funding. We got them before the deadline and the funding will not be reduced. So that's good news. We have some movement on the purchase of 690 Cedar Street, the former National Welding property. As you know, the town council authorized the town to enter into a purchase and sale agreement on the property back at the very end of 2020. And for various reasons, that agreement was extended several times over the years by the town council authorized an extension for various reasons. So the purchase never happened, but over the winter and spring, we've been working with the developer and they have indicated that they're prepared to close. They've obtained financing. So their attorneys are talking to our attorneys. They met last week to begin to prepare the closing documents. And we anticipate a closing in the first week of August. So that will be, all the terms and conditions of the 2020 agreement are applied at this point. Obviously, we're reviewing everything with the attorneys, but I believe it's a $1.4 million purchase range. So that's hopefully some good news coming up for movement on that. And personnel, we have placed offers to 2 police recruits. So these would be new officers that if they accept the position would be attending the police academy class in New Britain. I believe it's July 12th. So they'd be sworn in prior to that. So again, 2 new police officers should be ready for the road in about 9 or 10 months or so. With the recent promotion of Officer Detective Derek Walker to the permanent detective position, there's now an opening for a 4-year rotation detective among patrol officers. So we'll go through that process to appoint an officer to be on the detective rotation for the next 4 years. Again, we continue to reduce our vacancies in the police department, although we do have 1 or 2 pending retirements. So, but in general, we're still moving forward and filling those positions. We have also placed an offer to somebody for an assessment tech 2 position, the union position vacated by Rick Wall, who apologizes he wasn't able to be here for his proclamation tonight. We'll work with him to find a date he can come in. So if this person accepts that position, then they would be starting this month as well, and we would be fully staffed in the assessor's office. Barbara Wolmer is, she has been fantastic and she had been acting as the assistant director for the Senior Disabled Center. She's unable to continue to do so at this point. So I just wanted to publicly thank her and we're really grateful for her efforts. She did a wonderful job over the past 6 months. Any issues pertaining to the Senior Center would now come to my direction. And finally, just a little update on, Rose Lyons had asked about
how you would be notified in the event of a storm. So I just did a little research. Everybody, if you happen to be out and about and you have a smartphone, you probably got the National Weather Service update on your phone. I know I was at a theater production and like 400 phones went off at once. Great, but it was effective. So those are produced by and submitted by the National Weather Service, federal level. Apparently they work on smartphones, but you have to activate it. So you could take a look at that if you'd like. In terms of local Newington, we do utilize the Everbridge system, emergency system. If you have a landline, these emergency alerts will go to your landline automatically. If you don't, you have to register for it. But the Everbridge system is like a reverse 911 where messages go out to everybody. That has to be like manually activated. So either myself or the emergency management director, maybe the police chief, if there's an emergency and we need to get the word out quickly, we would alert dispatch and the police department, and they would be responsible for sending that list out to whomever is registered. So what I'd like to do is look at what we utilize Everbridge for. So for example, I don't think we utilized it for the tornado warning over the weekend. So maybe we look at, do we do that? Or is the National Weather Service alert, sufficient? And if we do that, then we should probably do like a campaign for people so that they're aware that it exists and can sign up for it if necessary. That's all.
I just have one question. I know we had a meeting 2, 3, 4 meetings ago. We had gotten an update from Scott Charlo, and he had talked about website updates. Is there any update as to what they're working on at this point?
In all my spare time, doing a proposal
I know, in all your
yeah,
spare
yeah.
time, yes.
For a consultant, and in the next meeting or two, we should have a number for you, how much that consultant will cost, and you could consider approving ARPA funds for that.
Okay,
And then we'll proceed with that project.
thank you very much. Any other questions, concerns, or anything else to report? Not report, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. No, that's all right. Just on your report, Jamie, one thing with regards to the emergency system, and I know you're still exploring this, I wonder if there's a way to patch in the National Weather Service notification so that the exact same notification, when they send it out, can automatically be sent through ours, or do you think it's only manual?
I don't think the two systems talk to each other, so to speak. They're very separate things, and we don't, but maybe we come up with a policy that if a National Weather Service alert goes out, and that triggers an Everbridge on our end.
Sure.
That's something to look at.
And then the only other question I had was just with regards to the senior center ARPA funding. I was going to ask about that because I've seen in so many towns, I mean, thank God that we have had staff that have submitted our proposals ahead of time, because a lot of towns are in a whole lot of hurt because of what has happened. Have we already been approved for the funding that we've requested, or are we now in a
approved for the funding,
Yeah.
but yes, we know we're gonna get the full $90,000. The way this ARPA funding works is that the State Union on Aging has the authority. You have to submit proposals on what you're gonna do with the money to the State Union on Aging, and they approve or decline that. That is still pending. I submitted it to them probably 2 months ago but there's obviously a waiting period, and then there's a lot of uncertainty. So yes, we are getting the funding. I just need the final approval from the State Union on Aging to say, yep, you can go ahead and spend it on these projects that you want to do.
Got it. That was my question. Thank you so much.
Councilor Jacob?
Yeah. Continuing on this emergency notification, one thing Ms. Lyons did indicate too, or as part of her examples, was if there's neighborhood issues, like gas leaks or, car chases or something like that. I was wondering if there's, add it to your list while you're not at the senior center or in your office here. If either the police, chief of police can come and talk to us, or in combination with IT, are there ways, what are the ways for different emergencies? What are the ways that currently we're notified, or how could we make it better? Because, the National Weather Service is one thing, but it's in Newington specific. Again, if we had a gas leak or an explosion or criminals running through the neighborhood, if there's ways, I'm just curious as to how we would handle that.
Yeah, that's a great question for Chief Perry. The Everbridge system, all effective, is surprisingly manual. So it's not like push a button and it goes out. There's a little bit of prep work there. So again, it becomes like a policy decision of when do you send these. Now, there may be other methods of doing so. I know that there is an app in use that I know not everybody uses apps or wants to download every app or use every app. That does everything from neighborhood watches to, closings due to police activity to lost dogs.
But obviously that means that people have to be aware that the app exists and be willing to use it on their phone and have it available. So I think that's a great question for the chief. Maybe we could bring him in at an upcoming meeting to talk about.
Okay, thank you.
Council Page.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to quickly also thank Barbara Walmer. She has done an amazing job from what I've seen from a distance and heard, and just send all the best to Barbara and her family. Thank you, Barbara.
We're very lucky to have her.
He's amazing. Thank you.
That's an understatement for sure. Council Gonzalez.
Yeah, I was just looking at my phone in reference to the emergency broadcasting. There is an app called Atlas One, and I'm subscribed to that, and I do hear like the police, Newington Police will put out when there's things, I'll get like a bing and it'll say if there's car chases or something like that going on. But again, that's only if you have the app on your phone, but that is an option.
Thank you, Councilor.
That's all.
Any other questions? No? All right, we'll move along to item 11, council liaison and committee reports. Councilor Pacheco.
Hey, Counselor Matt Ford and I were at the TPZ meeting, and just a few updates, and feel free to add to this. The apartments that are on Payne Road, they're looking for a certificate of occupancy, late July or early August. There's also on Payne Road, the swim school there. There's gonna not only be a pool, but there's gonna be pickleball courts. So they're finishing up the landscaping and the paving. So that should be open certainly this year at some point, hopefully sooner than later. And then, wow, this is all Payne Road. 67 or 62 Payne Road, which is going to be the Sunbelt Rentals. Are moving from the Berlin Turnpike onto Payne Road. That's still kind of under construction, and occupancy hasn't been determined, exact occupancy, but they are moving forward. Anything else, Matt?
Sure. You were exhaustive in your report. I'll just add a couple things that the Payne Road Apartments, the parking lot is finished, I guess. And the recreation space that is part of the ongoing construction outside there, the playground space. I'll also add that the town planner relayed that he received a special permit, his office received a special permit for an indoor trampoline park at the former Best Market property, as folks I'm sure have already seen online quite a bit. So there will be at some point yet to be announced a public hearing, of course, on that permit and all of the work that goes into that. I'll just mention as well that there was a petition that was granted to add construct an ADA accessible ramp at the Sequin Lodge as well. That was approved at the last meeting.
Councilor Gonzalez.
I attended the chamber meeting, and they gave us, I think, did Jen, you give that, Mary, you gave that to, yeah, it was just an award. If you want to just read it, it's for our participation.
It says, Newington Chamber of Commerce in appreciation for your continued chamber membership, 30+ years, Town of Newington.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Well
so
done,
that's all.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other updates from councilors? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to public participation in general. If you'd like to participate in public participation or in the room, please feel free to come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. If you're on Zoom, please use the raise hand function. We will alternate between in the room and on Zoom.
Rose Lyons, 46 Alton Drive. I'd like to address the pool committee once again. Was there anything put out to the members of the public from either party that these positions were up for grabs and anything like that? As a registered Democrat, I know that Republicans can point Democrats to one of their positions. So I'm going to volunteer because I have the history, the knowledge, and probably I'm a little bit biased, but I want to see how this is going to go. I see who's on the committee. I know who was on the committee before. I know the history of the people on the committee, and I know where this is going. I'm not saying that I'm against it, but I saw how it went before. I saw, as you sat here, Councilor Page, and tried to bring it to the previous town council. Procedures were not followed that I think that if they had been, it could have been done a lot quicker and could have forced it to be during the last town council. That being said, once again, I've never seen a committee created and members appointed in the same resolution. I'm looking at the agenda. This agenda, Mill Pond Pool Park Project Building Committee. It doesn't tell me that you know that you already disbanded it. It doesn't tell me that you're going to establish the other one, and it certainly didn't tell me that you were going to appoint anybody to that committee. As far as the emergency notifications, I forgot to bring my phone up, but it's a flip phone. There are no apps. I couldn't order from Panera's yesterday. I had to drag my butt up to the Berlin Turnpike and present my money and they wouldn't even take a credit card or a gift card over the phone. So I guess I'm going to be forced into the 21st century, you know, on $37,000 a year, with $5,000 a year being paid to my taxes to the town of Newington. And I'm sorry that Rick's not here tonight, because I will make a point of going into the tax office or to the assessor's office and letting them know again this year that I paid my taxes. It gives me 6 more months to live here and 6 more months to come to this table, but Rick won't be there to greet me. Oh no, Rose, it's you again. So Rick, if you're listening for any reason later on, I'm gonna miss you. The Everbridge, whatever it is, I have signed up for everything. I know I have. I have signed up for so much that I get RFP notifications as to when you're gonna be sending out an RFP for the reval company to come in, which I'm not looking forward to. I appreciate the fact, Councilor Bedrejko, that you asked that the chief of police come, because I've noticed that I was gonna ask questions like this on the community council for public, the police community council, or whatever it is that they established. I don't think it's met ever since prior to Chief Clark being here. I don't know whether it's ever going to be met, meet again. So if the chief can come and let us know where we can sign up, I'll be more than happy to sign up. I might even have to go get that smartphone that I've been fighting. Emails that you read into the minutes here, I'm not quite clear as to what's going on with that, because at one time they were read into the minutes, one time they were attached to the meeting minutes. Now it says to be included in the public participation portion of the meeting. I don't get it. In any case, other than OFI not being a surprise, I'd just like to know whether or not the monies will come out of this year's appropriation or next year's. And I know you don't answer the questions now, so I will say good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have one over Zoom. We'll go to him next. Mr. Horgan, go right ahead.
David Horrigan, 30 Candlewick Drive. Councilor Plord, thank you for your very eloquent description of your feelings on 28 Garfield and your well thought out points, and for the courage to vote the way you felt, not just along the party line. For those that have voted tonight to move ahead with the 28 Garfield Street purchase, you have violated your fiduciary responsibility by approving a major acquisition without ever knowing the real cost. I guess I better start putting away more money every month. If this is the way this council is going to act, our taxes are going to be ridiculous by the time your terms are over. Your lack of fiscal restraint is frightening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Dana Havens, 113 Stoddard Avenue. I want to thank the 4 counselors who really thought the OFI project through and voted not to move forward until more info had been gathered. And I want to especially commend Matt for not just speaking so eloquently, but for not following the pack and for voting what you could see was the right way to vote, and to be commended. As for the pool committee, I'm concerned over counselor comments I heard tonight that alluded to already having a blueprint for the pools. Please be sure to ask for the last scheme requested of the architect to draw up. Please do not rush this through like you did at OFI. please look at all the alternatives, not just the one that our Parks and Rec director is fond of. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor and Madam Town Manager and members of the Town Council, Mark France, 288 Williamstown Court. And just to append to what I said earlier regarding mental health, wellness, and how to integrate into society, live in society without what they call comorbidities, just a technical term for consequences of, and I'll just peer pressure and giving into peer pressure. Peer pressure can happen at Martin Kellogg, John Wallace. It can happen at home when a child sees their parent lighting up or acting in such a way that is the child just says, well, why is daddy or mommy or the guardian doing such? So it brings a larger issue into mind that I'm very passionate about and that I hope that I can champion along with those that are along my Mark bus tonight, as I call it, and really find inner healing and wellness. And one proposal that I have for the town council is to implement what they call intentional peer support services. In other words, IPS, intentional peer, it's actually intentional peer delivery support services. It's a rather large term for people that have lived experience and are not that are willing in the positive, that are willing to be that beacon of light, that city on top of the hill for people that don't have a voice otherwise. So I want to be that voice, and de facto, may I be that voice. But I want other people to join me because this is a serious problem that goes across aisles. It's not even a Republican, Independent, or Democrat problem. It's really a problem of Newington's that needs to be addressed positively by educators. So Board of Education needs to get involved in, the larger issues, the bigger picture. But again, my one concern is, besides me, myself, and I, is the reflections of me, myself, and I that I see in the town. And that's not to be misconstrued as anything other than I've done a lot of work on myself to get to this point. Okay, and I know that everyone sitting here has done a lot of hard work on themselves to get to this point. And there's a word that's called a relapse or slipping. And we all, none of us are perfect, okay? None of us are perfect. I don't want to sound like a party pooper, and sorry for the misspeaking, but I don't want to sound like a downer and say, well, gee, I don't want Newington to be not fun. In other words, I want Newington to be fun and to be healthy for people of all ages, of all walks of life. So again, to that point, what could be done specifically in committees and subcommittees and so on and so forth to make sure that Newington continues to grow and progress for the future generations that are dealing with things like cell phone dependency, gaming addictions, and so on and so forth, that are ending up in diagnostic statistical manuals. And this is quite the interesting story. So the saga continues, but the story is going to move forward in a positive direction. And again, IPS is something that I like to champion here in town. Thank you very much for your time and consideration. Have a pleasant evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good evening, Edward Nuevo, Surrey Drive, Newington, Connecticut. I just would like to give a public appreciation to Barbara Walmer on how fantastic of a job she's done with the senior center. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
Bill McCarthy, 206 Churchill Drive. We've been talking about little projects that the town wants to try to follow up on, like the pools and stuff like that. Personally, I live right across the street from Churchill Park. So I like that it's a park. You know, there's nice pavilions, everything else like that. I don't want a lake compounds in Newington. Bill DeMayo has got some very good ideas about what he wants to see happen with the pools, and he's presented things for years now to try to get the community to get behind him and do something about it. The committees in the past have conflicted with his vision for what he wants to do. Myself, I like the small town feel of our parks. If anything, I don't want it to sound like I just want a Band-Aid on it, but the pools are nice. The latest proposal I heard was to extend the splash pad at Churchill through the wading pool to all the way up to the tennis, up to the basketball courts, which is great. That's like, I don't know how many thousands of dollars or something like that, but that's not like the whole rebuild. The pool houses themselves are deplorable. The postings on Facebook, I hate to bring up Facebook again, but the pool houses are just deplorable and definitely need to be addressed. But the other things that have been, I wish Stan Sobieski was still here because it's sort of like his question too. The EV charging station that's supposed to be going in at the library. I don't know whatever happened to that. And the bridge over the waterfall. Those are all things that are happening this year, supposedly. So I guess that's it. You know, I want to keep Newington small, and as far as aquatic centers, we've got an ice skating rink, a nationally renowned ice skating rink, which is underutilized. As far as I know, you're allowed to use the pool at the high school year round for public swimming. If we want to have a world-class swimming facility, then that's something that we should consider. But as far as the parks themselves, I think the parks, as far as the bathhouses need to be addressed, but the feel of a small town still needs to be there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening again, Scott Kraskowski, 46 Miami Avenue. The Garfield project is done for now, but I do understand a couple people are probably going to litigate that, which will hold it up for a couple of years. What's that going to cost us? I don't understand the reason why we rushed this through. You guys said on video last week you couldn't vote for it because you needed more information, and then you didn't even say anything tonight, which shows something has been done, but the public don't know. Wool's being pulled over the public eye again, unfortunately. We got a lot of projects coming up that we're gonna need to spend money on. Now we have this OFI building that we don't know what 60% of the costs are. We have a library that wants to expand and remodel. We have a fire department that wants to buy property and expand there because the fire trucks don't fit in the firehouse. Senior center needs a lot of work. We have the pools. We got a lot of things coming up that would be nice if we had unlimited money to do it and get them done, but we don't. Emergency alerts. This weekend was kind of interesting with the emergency alerts. As many of you know, I run the What's Happening Newington group with 16,000 members. And we were putting the alerts up there live in real time. As people know, I provide the Newington Police, Fire, and EMS scanner feeds for the town. And people were tuned in. I think we had 300 and something people listening, and luckily we didn't have anything but one cable line get blown down, which was good. Also provide live radar and was updating people where the track of the storm was going live in real time in the group, which was nice. And we had a ton of people in there. That was probably one of our busiest nights on Saturday, and Sunday's alert, there was less people in there, but still a lot of people were coming in to get their information about it, which was nice. On to the topic of the pool. I believe we need new pools. There's no question about it. They're old. If you've been in them, there's cracks in them. You've stubbed your toes on them. They got grates that come up from the bottom. They're terrible. But I have a problem with the pools as well. The big problem I have with the pools is they're only open 2 months a year for 4.5 hours a day to the general public. Yeah, they're used by the daycare program and stuff like that as well. But for the general public, you're getting about 4.5 hours a day for 2 months out of it. And the last cost of it was $20 million, okay? $20 million for something that's open for 2 months a year for 4.5 hours a day doesn't make financial sense in my head. What I'd like to see personally is a pool that can be an indoor outdoor pool, something maybe the roof opens up and comes out. So in the summertime, it's nice. You go sit outside the pool. In the wintertime, indoor, heated. You know, I talked to Bill DeMayo about this in the past, and he said, well, I'd have problems getting lifeguards and stuff, but there's a lot of seniors and older people who would be available to do lifeguard duty at night, type of deal. The cost, you know, was $20 million for one pool. Now we're looking at $40 million. And again, we got this O5 project, we've got library, fire department. It's just snowballing. We just need to pick our priorities. We had this Owens report, and we haven't heard hide a hair of it since it's come out. What did they suggest that we do? Because I understand they gave us an order of what things we should be working on. What should we be working on next? We just need to prioritize what's best. And well, I have 30 seconds left. I'm not trying to aggravate Bill. I love Bill DeMayo. Me and Bill talk all the time. His job is to bring things into Newington and expand our programs and give us the best programs possible. And that's his job. He's doing well at it. Unfortunately, he gets the most gruff because he's spending a lot of money or wants to spend a lot of money to do it, but that's what he's supposed to be doing. So Bill, love you, and the rest of you guys have a good night.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the room or over Zoom that would like to participate in public participation? Seeing none, we move on to remarks by counselors. Counselor Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say to Mr. Francis' comments, you know, mental health is a significant issue in our town, and so is addiction. We, you know, sit within a region where drug trafficking and substance abuse disorder that comes from substances, you know, runs right through our schools. It runs right through our streets. It runs right through our motels. And God knows we need to do more to center mental health. You know, I've had a lot of conversations with counselors in our schools, and the lines for their services go down the hallway and around the block. And that's a remnant of a post-COVID world that we live in. And so I agree that we need to do more when it comes to mental health services. And I know that we're all committed to working together with human services and all the stakeholders involved here in town that already deliver those services to strengthen them, to expand their accessibility to new communities and new stakeholders. And I just appreciate the comments that you made. So thank you for coming out and sharing your story.
Counselor Page.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a couple of quick comments regarding Mr. Bill McCarthy's comments about the EV chargers. My understanding is the town is moving ahead with those, so that's on track. And also with the bridge at the park at the waterfall, that's on track, where they're looking at the pitch on that so it's ADA compliant, and also the finish to make sure that's appropriate. And then Mr. Gruskowski, I didn't know Mr. Gruskowski was involved as much in the emergency notifications. I just appreciate that service that you provide to the town. Thank you. That's it. That's all I got.
Thank you, Council. Any other comments from councilors? Being none. Informational items, I don't think we have anything, but I wanted to note that I saw on Facebook, as everyone else, the Kava restaurant in the new plaza is having a community event this Thursday, and they're expecting to open this weekend, so we got some more businesses going in there, so if you haven't had Cava, get over there and check them out. They're amazing, and I can't wait to check them out. Council.
Thank you, Mayor. Just very briefly, I just wanted to say, I myself and I know others attended the graduation very recently. So I just want to congratulate the NHS class of 2024 and particularly my cousin Sebi Baez, who walked across the stage recently as well. So
Nice, congratulations, 124. All right, moving on to executive session, I would entertain a motion to table it, or do we don't have to do anything?
We don't need the executive session
Okay.
tonight, after all, you could table it.
Counselor Manky?
Just a point of order, we probably should have excluded it from the agenda at the beginning of the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Just to be, we can't table it, because it's
Not, yeah, okay, fair enough.
not bringing up,
Fair point.
we probably should, I didn't think about it, but.
No worries, no worries. So we just don't do anything with it. All right, very good. So with that, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Some of
So moved.
Oh, I get.
So moved, second, and all those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned, 9:11 PM.